Hello, everyone. Welcome back. If you were just in our new products live stream, which happened not so long ago, or if you're joining us again for another live discussion with us here in our DoubleBookedCo reading group, book club. This month we read Jennifer Ryan's the Chilbury Ladies Choir. So this was a pick from Laura for her birthday, and she should be joining us soon. But no poll for me, but we she selected a book off of her shelf that she's been meaning to read. So this was an epistolary novel, which was interesting, very similar to like the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. So it's written in letters, diary entries, that kind of thing. So a little bit different. So that's what we're going to be discussing this evening. Looks like we have cool gamers here. Andy's here. Yes, hello again. But before we jump into the discussion of the book, wanted to just do a quick rundown of the upcoming books for book club and then just our schedule in general, as I am due to pop out a baby any day now. So we just are finishing Jennifer Ryan's The Chilbury Ladies Choir, so that's what we'll be discussing this evening. And then for June, we selected We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang. And the next time you will see us live again will be next Tuesday for those reading sprints. So if you're kind of like us and you start the book during the reading sprints, we will be starting that book on June 6th, which is a Tuesday, the first Tuesday of June at 8 p.m. So if you're interested, you can certainly join us then. If you're looking for a free copy, I did find that they have the audio version of this book on Hoopla. So if your library has Hoopla, you have that copy available to you. Then, very similarly to May, July is my birthday month. So I went ahead and picked our July read, and I decided I would just share with you this evening so you had it before everything went crazy at my house. But for July, we'll be reading The Clockmaker's Daughter by Kate Morton. So if you're interested in joining us with that read, that will be our July read. So speaking of the schedule then, so like I said, we will be doing reading sprints next week, Tuesday, which is the 6th, reading sprints for the We Are the Brennans. And then that the next live stream after that will be on the 27th of June for the live discussion of We Are the Brennans. Then you'll notice that the first Tuesday, which is usually when we do reading sprints of July, is actually July 4th. So as that is a holiday, we're going to go ahead and skip that day, and we will do our reading sprints for the July read of Kate Morton's book on July 11th. So that's what you'll see after the live discussion on the 27th of June. Then the reading sprints for the Kate Morton book will be on the 11th. And then the live discussion for the Kate Morton book will be on the 25th of July, because that's the last Tuesday of the month. So, yeah. So that's kind of what's upcoming for the book club, what books we'll be reading, the schedule, that kind of thing. And we'll continue to post those items so that you have an idea. But, yeah. It looks like Krista has also joined us. And that's awesome. Yeah,
it's excellent.
I had a couple of people reach out to me who aren't typically in our book club and said they read it because they saw that we were reading it and they were really happy that they did. So I'm glad that we are able to recommend a book that turned out to be a really great read for a lot of people. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Hi, Debbie. Nice to see you
Hi.
again. So yeah, so let's jump into talking about this book. Now, I don't actually have a copy with me. I listened to it on audio, which was fantastic, by the way. Sometimes I wish I was listening to it on regular speed because when they sing, there's a few instances where you hear the choir singing.
Mm. Oh,
And
nice.
when it's on 2 speed, it sounds kind of funny.
Mhm.
So I didn't get the full experience and I didn't feel like trying to slow it down. So every time they sang, I was kind of like, whoa, that was fast.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, let's go ahead and start talking about this month's book, which I think I really like this style of reading. I opened up explaining that this is an epistolary novel, so it's written in like diary entries or letters, very similar to the Guernsey literary uh, and potato peel pie
Potato peel.
society. I really do like reading that style. It just glides so naturally, and I love the different perspectives. And we'll get into that a little bit later because I do think I have a question like that. But I really like the style of this book.
Mhm.
So, as per usual, let's get it out of the way. If you were to rate the book 1 out of 5, 5 being amazing, kind of like Goodreads, what is your rating of this book? Let us know in the comments. What did you think, Laura?
I really liked it. I'm glad I did since I bought the UK version because I couldn't wait for the US version. So I'm glad I liked it as much as I did. Um, and yeah, epistolary is one of my favorite kinds of novels. So that was like an extra bonus point to it too. But I really, really enjoyed this. There were quite a few times that I was reading and I thought, ooh, this could go a not good way, or ooh, this could be really messy. And I don't know. I was a little nervous a few times, but I'm really pleasantly surprised by how everything turned out. And of course, I got a little choked up a couple times. But I really liked this. So I think I'm going to give it like 4.25, maybe. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I really liked it. I feel like it didn't go as far in my like emotional state as Guernsey did,
Mm-hmm.
but I definitely still gave it a solid 4. I thought it was really well done. I felt like the characters felt authentic.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, like Kitty being like this 13-year-old girl, but almost 14, like very
Right.
much everything she did, I was like, you are such a child.
Yeah.
So it was very, I felt like they were very authentic. The Venetia, I mean, everyone, and just giving that perspective of like what women did in order to keep life moving forward. I feel like the book did a really nice job. And
Mm-hmm.
even though it's called or named Chilbury Ladies Choir, I don't feel like it was all about them being in a choir together. It was more or less the community that they kept going because of the camaraderie
Mm-hmm.
from the choir. So I really thought it was great. And like I said before, I love the style of this book. I wish I knew more books that were written like this. So anyone have any recommendations, definitely send them my
I've
way
got a lot.
because yeah, I love it. I like the idea of the like narrative being outside of itself, like
Mm-hmm.
I really did really enjoy it. It was I really liked it. And even though, and I'm really bad with all the names because I listened to it on audio, so I can't remember everyone's name, but the lady who is like the midwife, even though at first I was like, you're an appalling individual, by the end, I don't know. I feel like you kind of feel okay about her in a sense, like not like forgiving by any means, but you almost see like why. she did the things she did, and I don't know, I really liked it. I really liked it a lot. Let's jump in and see what everyone else has to say. Yes, Krista, it is funny listening at increased speed when they sing. Yeah, definitely. Andy gave it a 5-star. Wow. Nice. Good for you. And Krista also loves these kind of novels, giving it 4.5. Very nice.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah, I think considering what we read all last year, this year has been quite different. I feel like we've had some better novels coming down our stream here. So that's exciting. So let's get into some of our other questions. So we kind of talked about a few different people already, but for the characters, so we read about so many people in the story. Whom do you find most engaging or most admirable, generous, or helpful, and why? And which characters do you find less so? So let us know in the comments.
You go first, Dani. What do you think?
So I really liked, I think is it Miss Tilling? Is she like the like other midwife-ish?
The good midwife, yeah.
Person?
Yeah.
But she's like the only one that has like a conscience. I loved her. And I love how her story evolves and she ends up marrying what is he? He's some kind of, you only hear his perspective like once or twice.
Yeah, Colonel Mallard.
Yes, the Colonel. I loved her. I was like, thank God somebody in this village has their head on straight. And in such a way that she wasn't being like overbearing on anyone. She wasn't giving this moral lecture every time something happened. She was just like, nope, we're doing it this way because this is the right way and you got to get on board with this. And even when she was taking the ring from the young male soldier to his lover, and she was like, I don't want him to, like, I need to do this, and for them to be so scared, of someone knowing. For her to have been so gracious and so kind in that moment, especially for the grieving partner, I really did love so many things that she was a part of. That she was probably my favorite character as far as just being like the goodest character. Kitty really ground on my senses. Like, this is going to sound really bad because now I'm going to compare her to like a real life person, but she very much reminded me of how Anne Frank talked in her diaries. Like, so much a 13-year-old girl, like so much. And I was just like, I can't take this. Like, I am too old for this. Like, you need to grow up. But I'm like, nope, no, this is perfect. This is exactly how she should be. This is exactly how she should think. But man, every time she was talking about that one, was it Harold or Harry or whatever, who she is supposed to, like, she's in love with, I'm like, you are not in love with this guy. Like, calm down.
Yeah, that was not a proposal.
Oh my gosh. But again, I didn't hate her because she was perfect for her age. That's exactly how a 13-year-old girl is going to react in those situations. But she was like, every time she ground on me. And even the and again, I'm sorry because I don't have an actual copy, but the woman who switches the babies, even though you want to hate her because that's just the worst, like, you're just the worst, I really enjoyed when it was her time to talk, because I'm like, what tomfoolery are we going to hear about this time? So it was actually kind of fun to hear about her, even though, like, morally she's just a terrible person.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Yeah, I agree with most everything you said. Yeah, Miss Tilling was my favorite for sure. I wasn't too sure about her at first, like, oh, I'm not sure. Venetia was really annoying. I thought she might get killed, might get, like a bomb might come in, like she might be one of the ones that died. But she really turned everything around, boy, holy cow. But that's what life will do to you. I mean, that'll take care of that. But I really like Miss Tilling a lot. I'm glad she realized that she was being really short with Colonel Mallard. Like, oh, yeah. Oh, we could just have tea. Sure. You know, like, so she was so standoffish at first. And yeah, how she just took charge and she's like, no, we're not doing this. This is right. You need to calm down or whatever it was. You know, I really like that. And I really liked the town and was like, we're doing ladies choir and like, Mrs. B, you need to shut up and sit down and be quiet. Like, it's not an affront to God. We're doing this. Let's try this. And because she was such a different breath of fresh air, a different personality completely. She had traveled so much and had seen so many things. And it was really sad when she died, but nice that records were saved at least and they could all remember her and talk about her and everything. And that was really nice. And yeah, I really liked this. It reminded me a lot of other books I have read because, again, I am an epistolary freak show. And there's a book that I was reminded of throughout the whole thing. And at the very end, she mentions it in the acknowledgments, which I know you wouldn't have listened to if you had an opportunity. So it's called, it's called Henrietta's War. It's by Joyce Dennis, and the last name is Dennys. So this was republished, I think maybe 10 years ago. They had a Bloomsbury group like reprinting. There was like Let's Kill Uncle and Our Spoons Are for Woolworths and stuff. They were all published in the thing. So Henrietta's War was part of that. And it's a fictional retelling of a war diary from World War II. And it's so similar to this in so many ways, like the feel of it and like the humor that was there. And so when I saw that in the back, I was like, holy crap. I wonder why it looks so familiar. It seems so familiar. And it's not very long. I think it's like 250 pages, maybe. I don't think it's 300. So go read that if you want to. That's
what was the first name?
Henrietta's War. The author is Joyce Dennis. Dennys. So it was a lot like that. It's really just interesting. You want to just keep seeing what's happening. I really liked this. I was very nervous. I'm always nervous picking books for anyone to read because I'm convinced everyone's going to think it's the stupidest book ever. Because I feel like I only read dumb books, which I know is not true, but like I feel like I just read stupid stuff. So it's like everyone's going to hate this. It's going to be so stupid. So I'm really relieved that people like it so much because as I was reading this, I was like, God, if people don't like this, what is wrong with me then? Because I really am enjoying the heck out of this book. So yeah, I really liked every single part of it. I loved the perspective shifts and the tone shifts and who was writing to who and Venetia writing to Angela all the time and all. I mean, I just loved it. It was great.
Yes. Yeah.
I enjoyed everyone, even when they annoyed me.
You're silly. You pick good books. Looks like Krista loved the boldness and kindness of the choir director. The older sister Dover, not selfish.
Yeah,
she was very selfish, and the manipulation. I mean, and the just like sheer like what's the word I'm looking for? Baby brain for the rest of my life, apparently. Like she was just so like slutty. Like for that timer, I was like, when the sister was writing how she saw her in the stable or whatever, putting the stockings on with some random boy, I was like, what? Yeah, I. And then like total shift when she ran into that burning building to save the baby and stuff. I was like, oh, okay now. And then you really do feel bad for what happens to her later. I mean, that's just terrible. Not that I liked her at the end, but she definitely came full circle. I mean, she definitely had an evolution of character, which was nice to see. As far as recommendations go, we have 84 Trying Crossroad, which I think I've heard of before. I just added it to my Goodreads, so thank you, Debbie. Yeah, and then I did also, as Andy is, I did add that Henrietta's War as well. And I feel like I've heard of both of those books, but never put them on my Goodreads because they both were still open. But when I saw the book the cover of Henrietta's War, it looked very familiar. So I must have seen it. Someone must have been talking about it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, very good. Well, let's talk about that community. We kind of been talking about it a little bit as we've been going through. But it is a huge theme as all of the men leave. You know, the first thought is like everything has to shut down because we don't have any men. And the women really stand up and make a stand to keep things moving forward. You know, what tests do many of these women in the novel face? You know, in what manner do each of them rise to the occasion in order to meet those demands or challenges in the book? Because they are who is left. I mean, we see a couple of different people. Like there's the guy that works at the shop who seems like a real winner.
Yeah, Gibbs. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and some boys that are younger yet. And then of course the is it Brigadier? Is that what they call him? The real
Who?
menace of society is
Oh
like,
yes, the Brigadier. Mm-hmm.
yeah, oh my gosh.
What an
And
ass.
then of course the colonel who comes in, but as a whole it's mostly the women, and they're, you know, stepping forward to keep the town going, the village going. What are your thoughts in this kind of question, the tests or tribulations that they face?
I really liked that they, at least initially, there was some pushback a little bit, but Mrs. B is so old fashioned and she's such a loudmouth and such a pushover bully kind of person that she wants things to stay the same, and we need men and nothing can change and we can't do anything without them here. We're just women, like all that junk crap. That at first some of the older ladies were like, oh yeah, she's right, but then as all the younger people, like 30s, 40s, whatever, were like, no, we can do some things too. Started to push back. The older ladies were like, oh yeah, we can do this. I liked that it wasn't just such a separation. I thought there might be like the old people who didn't want to do anything, and then like the younger people who were like, we can do whatever, you know. So I'm glad that it didn't like separate everybody like that, even though Mrs. B keeps trying for whatever reason. But I liked that they really did come together, and that this funny little town, which seemed sort of separate at first, all these different people with their different wives and sons and widows and, you know, whatever, that they really did come together in the war. And it just sort of happened kind of naturally, just by everyday living, getting along together. And then the first time the plane goes over, you know, like I think that was really, everyone was like, oh, this is serious. Nearby, you know. I really liked that they really did become a community, especially with the further bombings too later on too. It was really obvious, like they stick with each other, you know. I really liked that.
Yeah, and I feel like you see that evolution, because in the beginning you hear from Kitty, and she's speaking at the dinner table or something like that, and she's saying like, oh yeah, they don't even think this is really going to last that long. The children that were sent from London are already being sent back and all that kind of thing. And obviously, being a person in the real world, you know, like this isn't even the beginning. Like you have like 5 more years of this. But it becomes more real and more real throughout the read, because you start to see like the planes going over, then you see the bombings, then you see the fire, you see them pulling men from the beach and kind of makeshift nursing stations, and so it all becomes more and more real. And then once they actually lose people from their own village, when forgive me, I can't remember her name, but the young woman who is part of the birth switching scheme, one of the brothers.
Harry.
So she dies in one of the explosions, and as well as the choir director who like stood up to take over. And I think when that happens, everyone has that like, oh shoot moment, like this is a lot closer to home. And it reminds me, there's a movie, I want to say it has Greta Garbo in it, but it's about the same thing. It's about like an English village, and their men go off to war, and you're always assuming that it's the men who are going to come back in boxes, but the war was at their doorsteps as well. And you see, a young lady die in a firefight, in a overhead shooting from a plane, when you don't expect people at home to die. You expect soldiers who are at the fight, but when it comes to your doorstep, you never expect like that's going to happen. So that piece was really very authentic, but very sad at the same time. I expected more people to pass. So yeah, but I really liked, I feel like Miss Tilling really was like the glue that kept everybody going, especially through her investigation when she was trying to like, so they both had heart or like breathing issues, like, and they both drank this thing before. She's very cunning and very intuitive, and it was very interesting to see how that all played out. I was very surprised on how that played out.
Me too.
But yeah, I really liked hearing from a lot of these people. I wish we would have heard more from certain characters as opposed to Kitty. Like every time Kitty came out, I'm like, really? Like, you're not bothering me per se, but like
nonsense.
There's other characters that I feel could give me a better idea of what's actually happening.
Less
yeah, so dramatic. But again, I mean, you're still growing up during this time. You're still going through all the phases. So I get it. But yeah. Yeah. Too funny. Okay. Well, keep us updated in the comments as well. We'd love to hear from you as well. But let's jump into our third question, which I keep bringing up the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society book because it's very much the same, made up of letters, diary entries. Do you enjoy the insertion of these extra textual narratives, or do you prefer straightforward storytelling with a narrator? I know you all heard what me and Laura think. We're very much into it. But what do you guys think? Tell us in the comments.
I have yet to read Guernsey. I mean, I have 3 copies of it. I have not read it. I have put it on TBRs, I think, like 4 or 5 times.
It's so short, too.
I know. And before my YouTube channel, like so many times I was like, yeah, I got to read this. I know I'm going to love it. And I just haven't.
It's so good. I think I gave that 5 stars. I think I gave that one 5 stars. And I watched the movie, which is available on Netflix. Don't waste it. I mean, it's fine, but it's not like the book. Like, I feel like the book is so much more. There's so much more there that I don't know why they went certain directions in the film.
Yeah.
But I think the reason why I even read that book is because my mother-in-law kept telling me about this amazing movie on Netflix. And I was like, oh, I feel like that's a book. And you know me, I have to read the book first. And I read it and I loved it. I loved it. And then I watched the film and I was like, no.
Yeah.
It's fine on its own, but just not. Yeah.
I thought I would show you like the front page thing, how it shows in the book.
Yeah.
Like it's all letters and stuff. So it just shows up like this. Wait, I can do this.
Oh,
so it's just, it's just on its own page, like front page from the blah blah blah. Like, so you just get to see what it says.
Huh.
It goes right to the next letter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, audio, it just says, it just like says who's reading or whatever, I think. Yeah. Maybe. I can't remember now.
Can I ask, is there a music component in Guernsey or no? I'm assuming there's not. But
no.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. I didn't listen to it on audio. I read it. But there...
I mean, I know it's not like this, where it's a choir. You know, I know it's not that.
No. See,
Okay.
they're meeting because they're doing something they're not supposed to be, and then they get caught, and then they say that they're a book club, basically.
Yeah.
And something else. But there's a lot more at stake in that one. That one, because they're German occupied. So it's
Yeah.
like this island that's German occupied. So you have to be very careful. And
Oh, it is short.
it's super short. Yeah, it's really fast. It's so good though.
Here.
I don't want to miss these comments here. Okay. So Krista mentions that she loved that it wasn't just one person's diary letters, but got a variety, some journals, some letters. That was interesting to get different perspectives. Absolutely. Yeah, I love hearing from different perspectives. Yeah. And that I liked that some were diary and some were letters, because you know when it's a diary entry, they're being a little bit more honest. And when it's a letter, you know that they're being a little bit more dramatic, I guess, and like more so tuned to how they're trying to like be more like, I'm good because I'm doing this. But as a reader, you're like, no, that's not good. Ariane's here. Hello.
Hello.
Why do you have so many copies of Guernsey?
The first one I got, a friend was unhauling. She had multiple copies and gave me a trade copy, so I got that. And then I went to a thrift store and they had a hardcover first edition, so I bought that. And then I forgot that I had a trade paper copy already, and then went to another thrift store like a couple months later and saw a like new trade, and I was like, oh, I'll get this too. Like, it's supposed to be really good. I can give it away then. Then I found my other one. So yeah, I have 3. Yeah.
You know, and oddly enough, you know, because I do go to a thrift store from time to time, I always see this book there, and that it baffles my mind because it's so good. And usually you think people who give away books to thrift stores, like it's books that you don't like, but I always see this book, and sometimes multiple copies of it.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. But it could just be that it's the style of writing that people don't really mesh with, which is perfectly fine. Krista mentions loves Guernsey. Did think about that one while reading Chilbury. Thought they had very similar vibes. Yeah, like the adaptation too. Yeah. Debbie does like the format. I do think for me, I shouldn't have used the audio exclusively on this book, as I found the 12-hour ones are ones I break up and read physical. So, yeah, for me, it was hard for this kind of book. Like, I would prefer to read this kind of book because I cannot keep characters straight when there's this many characters on only an audio, because I'm a visual learner. So because I have not seen anybody's name, I, by hearing them, know who's who when I'm listening to it, but I couldn't tell you what anyone's name is. Like, I could tell you the really brute kind of bullyish voice is the lady who is the midwife that switches the babies. I don't know what her name is because I never saw it, so I can't remember it. I know Venetia and Kitty because they're first names, so it's easier to remember those names, but I can't remember the young lady that they took in from the war who was Jewish. I don't remember. Yeah, Sylvie. I couldn't remember her name. I can't remember anybody's name because I didn't see any of them. So this kind of book having so many different perspectives, and especially them being letters, because some books that are written like this, they'll actually do it in like a handwriting or something like that. So aesthetically, it looks really cool. I would much rather read it than listen to it on audio. Now, not to say that this audio version wasn't great, because it was, because it had the musical aspect. And the narrators did a fantastic job. But I think just for me remembering people's names, it would have been a lot easier if I was maybe doing both. Just because, I can't remember anybody's name. It's terrible.
And
I know who they are if you say.
Yeah. like to that point too, every time I switched perspective, I was like, who is this? And then after a few sentences, I was like, oh, that's right, that's this person. So I mean, it was hard too, because it is a lot of people,
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Can I ask too, for the audio, for anyone who knows classical music, do they play the actual songs that they talk about, or was it just like any song, or they just like made up a melody and put like the lyrics in?
No, it
Can
sounds like
anybody
a choir. Like it sounds
right.
like
Is it the actual song? Like, do they actually play Lacrimosa when they talk about Lacrimosa? You know what I mean?
I think so. I think there were at least three different times where they sang.
Mm-hmm.
So like when they did the Ave Maria, and then whenever they sang at the funeral,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think they sang one more time. But it sounded like an actual choir.
Yeah, because I would be heartily annoyed if I listened, as I do want to listen to this now with the choir things especially, but if it was not the actual music, I'd be really annoyed, because I sang all these songs and I know all these songs, so I'd be like, really, you couldn't do this, right? Like, really? I would hope they would, but
I don't think it's the whole song, because it didn't last very long. I did have it on double speed, but it was more like just a quick little snippet.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just was curious if anyone knows.
Andy enjoyed the format. Haven't read Guernsey yet.
Yes,
someday buddy read. There you go.
That'll make
that would be a good one to buddy read. There's so many things that happen in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's like at least 3 people that you have in that one.
Okay.
There's like one main person.
Do you want me to look?
No.
It's right here. Okay.
Andy says Guernsey is so good. Looking back, gave it 4. I used to be a stinger about my 5s. Mm-hmm. I know. I gave that one a 5 for sure. I know I did, because I remember talking about it somewhere, and I was like, "This is a 5-star review," and I never do 5-star reviews. It was good.
Mm-hmm.
Elemental P.
Oh yes, that was fun too.
I'm gonna have to look that one up.
That was so creative too. I think you have a copy of that, Dani, on your shelves. I'm pretty sure you do.
Do I?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's trade paperback on your left bookshelf, I think. It's pretty thin.
No, I don't have this one. You are thinking about my Elizabeth Stout books.
Okay.
Because that book looks very similar to those 2 books that I have of hers. Okay. I know exactly the spot you're talking about, and it's those 2 books, because they're very thin and they look exactly like that cover.
Yeah.
I think that's so funny. Like, because I do the same thing. I know where to find stuff on your shelves too. Anywho, okay. It's a little telling. Yeah. Just like randomly we go, send me pictures of your shelves.
Yeah, we do that though.
We do.
Yeah. You send me the picture of those 3 shelves on the right side.
Can you send me a picture of your shelves?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm gonna have a baby. Oh, okay.
I know
at least one of the songs was one I knew, so I'm assuming yeah, I think they were pretty in tune with what was happening.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Yeah. I got the ebook from the library and the audio to listen to read, finished weeks ago, but took the little discussion document. Yeah. Yeah, Elemental P. That's what I thought. I was like, are you kidding? Is that the thing? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Elemental P.
That was really impressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I've added it to my Goodreads.
Yeah. So. As it goes, like you lose a letter every chapter or 2, and then you can't use that letter anymore. So the whole book ends up being written then without all these letters, and it just accumulates. So you only have a few letters left you can use to write at the very end. It's impressive. Pretty cool.
Hopefully I can find that someday.
Lots of thrift stores. I would think it's out there.
Yeah. Maybe.
Be able to find it.
Okay. Where were we? Okay, so we've brought up Venetia a couple of different times. In what ways does she alter through the course of the book? What are the biggest moments that change for her? And we kind of tapped on a few of these. Beside the more radical things like the bombing and her getting pregnant and then ultimately losing that baby, are there any other things that you feel like really changed her in a sense or matured her in any way? Like what do you feel like really were the moments that altered her personality, or was it these monumental things, like, or did we see a change before that?
I noticed stuff when she was first visiting Alistair at his place, and like she was sneaking in and stuff. And she's writing to her friend Angie saying like, "Oh, but Henry's for me, and I'm going to do this other stuff," or whatever she was saying, whatever kind of BS she was telling herself. But as she's talking about how they're talking and how she feels when she's with Alistair, it's like clear this is not the same relationship, and he is not the same kind of person that can just be led around by his nostrils, or lower. So like that's the first time for me I was like, oh good, she's gonna realize that there's more to life than just being flirty and fake and getting whatever you want. Like there's real stuff out there that's really worth it. So that's when I was first like, ooh, I think there's hope for her. How about you? What
Yeah,
do you think?
definitely. I think exactly that same moment
Mm-hmm.
when she was talking about when she was sitting for him, she was even saying, I'm going to start doing these things so people know that I can think, and people know that I can do these things. Like, I think she even says, like, I'm going to stop doing this because I want to show people that I can do this, or she wanted to show herself that she could do it. So she was like
Mm-hmm.
consciously even saying, like, I'm going to stop being so ridiculous because I can see, like, with Alistair, like, that's not going to fly. Like, me acting like a silly girl isn't going to work with him. He's just so different,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like calling to me. And so I'm going to try to be more mature. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, how very mature of you
Yeah.
to know that you should probably be a little bit more mature and less
Mm-hmm.
naughty all of the time,
Mm-hmm.
especially with the father that she had. I
Yeah. Ooh.
the difference between her kind of experience with her father and Kitty's, like the scene where he whips her and stuff, I'm like, what the actual F is going on here? I never feel like Venetia is afraid of him until she has to say that she's pregnant or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas Kitty is terrified. And you do get one line from her that says, like, she is like the whipping girl because she's younger and easier to prey on, whereas Venetia's like older now, and but I was just like, she's naughty, like, how is she not getting whipped? Like, I would feel like she'd get whipped daily because I
Mm-hmm.
mean everyone knows how she is out in the public. Like, he's not interested in like keeping her in tow. Like, yeah, there's something else about her, man.
And with his wife too, it's so she was so obviously an abused woman and afraid of him. And the little glimpses we see of her in the beginning of the book too, it's just sort of like mentioned. She's not really seen out on the town that much. She's a quiet person. When she does something, it's always like, "Oh, Kitty." It's never sentences or anything. She's just seems like a shell of a person, which of course he would be after staying married to somebody who's that big of a brute for so long. I mean, to survive
Oh,
the
you're talking about the
the
brigadier's
mom.
wife? Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't remember what her name
Um,
was.
so it was like, yeah, I knew she was abused and whatever else, but I think the brigadier was just hoping Kitty just like makes a good match and like can kind of ignore her foolishness and oh, she's really not that bad, she's so beautiful, whatever.
Oh, Venetia, yes.
Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think she's yeah. I don't know. I'm glad she changed.
Yeah, me too. I was really surprised, especially when she like ran into that burning building
Yeah.
and saved the baby and whatever. I mean, now realistic, she was really running in there for Alistair.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, still, she heard the baby and she looked for the baby, found the baby, got the baby out, all those things. So, yeah. Speaking of babies, why do you think that Mrs. Tilling doesn't hand, Miss Poultry, that's her name, over to the police? Why is she being so nice to her? So, Miss Poultry is the lady who switches the babies so that the brigadier can have a male heir, of which he pays her to do. And Miss Tilling is so smart, figures it out on her own, with a little investigation.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end, she doesn't turn her in. She actually helps her find new accommodation because her house gets bombed, and helps her kind of get back on her feet. Like, what? Why do you think that happened that way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think she's just a decent person and can see, like, as things progress, and especially after the bombings, things really progress in a really, like, shit's real. You know what I mean? Like, stuff is really, really real. Stuff's really happening. And it kind of ends up okay. Like, she's with her real parents and with her sister at the end. Who knows if Vincent will come back from the war or not, Hattie's husband. It seems like maybe not, so she'll just stay with him and it's okay. Like, and I think because Miss Paltry is does tell her everything, and she is so abashed. And I liked when Miss Paltry said something to the effect of, like, I felt like dirty and cheap, and I don't want to feel that way anymore. I want to be different. Right? As she was confessing all this stuff to her near the end, I was like, I really like that, because she really could see, like, yeah, I have not been living how I really want to live. I don't want to be this kind of person anymore. So I think Miss Tilling was like, okay, well, this girl is back where she's supposed to be, and they have this extra baby now that needs a home, and she's going to get love and care. And I mean, it's a war. It's unsatisfying in some ways. Like, you want some justice, retribution for this heinous crime, but I don't know. It kind of ends okay. I don't know. What do you think? Plus, she's not going to live there anymore. So,
Yeah, right.
you know,
I think I completely agree with everything you've said. And I think that it really comes down to the fact that it's a war. So, is this really that big of a deal? I mean, it is. It is.
It is. But
like you said, is Vincent even going to come home? What's going to happen to these babies? Like, what would have happened if it would have all come out? Would they just have abandoned the baby? Either Lawrence, which I can't believe I remember the baby's name, but Lawrence or Rose. What do you do? And I think, like, I don't know that I believe that Miss Poultry, whatever, I don't know that she really feels like she gets it. Like, because I feel like in all of her letters to her sister, she's just so like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna get all this money, and I'm gonna be able to get back where we blah blah blah. And I can't recall, because it happened so quickly in the book, but like, what was the thing she keeps referring to where she's gonna make everything right? She's gonna make everything right, because clearly she did something somewhere else that caused her to even leave and not be able to return, and that's why she needs all of this money. And I can't remember what that is. So for me, I feel like she is like a recurring monster of disaster in these certain things. And I think that's why Miss Tilling put her with the vicar, because she's like, you need some God and some gospel.
Someone's going to keep you in line.
Yes.
Here we go.
So yeah, and honestly, just the time era and the value of women anyways, she would have been the only one that got in trouble in that situation. The brigadier wouldn't have gotten a one lick of anything. So for me, that makes me go, okay, well, the babies are safe. They're with their respectful families, so to speak. Hopefully Vincent comes home, but
Right.
I don't know.
It's just the start. Like you said, there's 5 more years that they don't know us.
Yes.
That's a long time.
Yes. Yeah, this is the beginning of the word. Like, this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
I mean, the world isn't even fully aware of what's happening. So
I'm trying to look through the book. I'm listening to like find the things she like talks about with her sister.
sure.
Near the beginning, she says to her sister, "I know you think I'll mess it up like usual, but I won't let you down this time. You'll be rich before the spring is out, I swear." So I'm going to keep going back because she does say something else a little more, I think, pointed like one other time.
I feel like she says something to Miss Tilling or something, or it's towards the end of the book, and when I was listening to it, I was like, what? But sometimes when you're listening to an audiobook, you're like, do I stop or do I just keep going? And for me, because I'm doing so many other things, I'm like, I'm not going to stop this book. So
yeah, this is the second letter total of the book. So it's the first time we hear from her. Don't you see, Clara? Soon I can pay back the money I owe, like I promised, and you'll finally realize how clever I am, how I can make up for the mistakes of the past. We can put everything behind us and never mention what happened with Bill, although I always say I saved you from him. So she must have stolen her sister's boyfriend and married him or something. I'm assuming, like, took Bill from her sister. Okay. Then I'll buy back our childhood house in Burnham Wood, all fields and cliffs beside the sea, and we can live safe and happy just like before Mom died. I'll be finished with births and babies and nasty rashes in people's nether regions. People bossing me about and laughing behind my back. I'll be back to being my own person with no one watching over me. So I think Bill probably died or something, and she borrowed my her sister and then had to like do whatever she could to. But that's the most we hear about it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris, it says the Brigadier was the worst. Yes.
Yes.
He was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that both babies are being cared for, so what would be the point? Yeah. And yeah, like I said, when there's not equal retribution for the parties involved, it makes you feel more like, okay, well then why do anything? Like, why crucify her because she's the one that did it and got paid for it? Kind of. Not really. She didn't really get paid.
Right.
He didn't pay her in full because people started to find out. So he kept like retracting. And then all the money got stolen anyways, because she had to pay off the one maid, and then the other half of the maid, the Ralph or whatever, ended up finding they're stealing the money. So I mean, she didn't really end up getting paid at all, but still, I just know I would never ever do that.
Yeah.
Like, for her to be so flippant in accepting that deal, like, she didn't even think about it. She just was like, okay,
great money. Yeah,
money.
I need
give
money.
Me this much. And yeah, like, and the thing that gets me is, like, obviously now having my own children, I can't believe that both of those children survived the switch, because in that era anyways, child loss was so common because of disease and this, that, and the other thing. But to have taken them from their mothers, put them in a bag, and like transported them to other places I can't believe neither of them died. Especially Lawrence, because Lawrence seems a little bit more frail, which was Hattie's child anyways. Like, I can't believe neither of them died. I just can't believe it. Can't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I almost wish they both would have been girls, because then it would have been just fine.
It would have been really interesting to see what happens then with the Brigadier and Miss Paltry. I know.
Yeah, too crazy. Yes, such a crazy plan for switching him. I can't believe it worked. Like, cannot believe it worked. Oh, sickening. Sickening. But you hear about this all the time in, like, nowadays. Like, you see on TLC had it for a while, like, switched at birth.
Yeah.
How does that happen? How does that happen? Like, I can't even. And then too, like, if it were to happen to you and you find out like 15 years in, what do you do? You don't. You leave it as is, because that is your child. The blood, yes, is there, but like, you've raised that child. Oh my gosh. It's crazy. But anywho, we are rounding up on the hour mark. Are there any additional topics that you feel like we missed, or you wanted to discuss? Anything that was kind of like, niggling at your thought box there, and like, I wonder what they're going to talk about that. What did you want to talk about to end our discussion tonight? Anything that you thought of that you wanted to talk about?
Nope. I'm just really relieved that everyone liked it so much. Really, really relieved, because I was really sweating it. Yeah. I think I will read her new book that just came out recently. I think I will. I just thought, I don't know. I'll see how this one goes first, But I'm interested now in that one.
Yeah.
How about you? Anything?
No. Andy, I feel like, for me, because I don't know how this next one will go, because this next one should be normal. But there's no way, if they brought me a different baby, I'd be like, that's not my baby. Because my daughter looked exactly like my husband. Like Aaron. Looked exactly like my husband. So if they would have brought me a different baby, I'd be like, that's not my baby. Plus, obviously, with the heart disease, I'd be like, how did I all of a sudden get a healthy baby?
Right. Yeah.
Like, where's the one with the health issues? But even with the next one, just the way the hospital is set up, like, you can put the baby in the nursery, but you don't have to. Like, they encourage that you keep it overnight. So unless someone's creeping in your room and taking your baby, you should be able to leave with the same baby you came with. But yeah, Debbie, baby brain is a real thing. It literally, for the last 2 years, I have had baby brain. I cannot think of words. I cannot think of things. I will be doing something, and all of a sudden I will be doing something else, and I will come back and I'll be like, oh my gosh, that's right. I filled the sink full of the dishes, and then it's like 3 hours later, I was like, oh my gosh, I never finished the dishes. My husband thinks it's a hilarious joke, because he's like, yeah, it was bad with your first, but this one is really bad. And I'm like, thanks. He's like, I'm just telling you. He's like, you have a master's degree and you can't speak. I'm like, thanks. And he's like, yeah, and you just start things and then you walk away and you start something else. And then you forget what you were doing. I'm like, I know. I have almost put the milk in the cabinet with the cups. I have almost put the milk on the cart where her food is. I have almost put the milk out in the garage, like, just randomly. It's a real thing. So yes, if there's anything in your thought box, because I can't think of words. They're gone. Seriously gone. Henry, I think that was the name, ended up being a jerk. Oh, I was not surprised by his actions. And it's because I kept remembering that he was like the heir to that house. So I knew he had some kind of like title almost. And anyone with a title, whenever I read anybody with a title, I'm like, they're garbage. Usually in these books. Usually they're like so suave and sophisticated, but when you put them in a vice grip, they're jerks because they've got that title, and how dare you embarrass them. So when he reacted the way he did, I was not surprised at all.
I was surprised at I thought he might be a bit of a rotten egg, but at like the quickness and how like vehemently nasty he got in like a 2-hour period was what I was like, whoa, okay, wow, okay, sir.
Could you imagine if they ended up together?
No.
Yeah, he'd be another brigadier. He'd basically be the same exact person. Yeah, nasty. And when because the other stuff too is when he was talking about how he's shooting all these things down, I was like, yeah, he's not
a little
good.
into that.
Like he's way too boastful to be this like nice person that everyone likes. Like there's something there. So I was not surprised when he was like terrible to her. This is not a book I would have found on my own. See, Laura? Isn't that so nice?
Yeah, it is. Thanks, Andy.
Yes. I plan on doing the same thing. I mean, for the hospital that I'm going to be delivering at, which is different than the last one, but most hospitals now, they'll have like really cool videos where they'll show you, they'll like do a tour of the facility and everything. It looks like we're going to have some really nice digs for, the 24 hours we'll be there. But they even say like, you can put in the nursery. And I think to myself, I'm like, you're not going to be sleeping for like at least the next 6 months. So what is the first night? What's the difference? Because I mean, that's really crucial too. I mean, you want to get that skin on skin and try to breastfeed if that's your plan. So putting them in a different room, that just seems like not helpful at all. But everyone is different. So
that's how it used to be. That was the rule. Like I just watched the Golden Girls recently, and one of them is like, you have the baby and taken away from right away.
Yeah, they do a lot of tests
in
and
the
stuff.
big observatory.
Yeah, they do tests.
I was sort of like,
stuff.
oh God, I forgot how common that was. Like, because I've been to like most of my friends' hospitals for visiting. Like with the first couple of days that they're there after they have the baby, like I'm there right away to visit, and it was starting to happen like 10-15 years ago that it was less common, at least around here, that it was like, oh yeah, you're going right to the nursery, you're not staying in your mom's room. Like, okay, we'll take them now, like
yeah,
a little bit. So
well, and that's because they do a lot of different things with them right away, but now they've created to be able to do that in the room. So they have it's like a whole contraption that they have where they weigh them and test them in certain ways. They will take them to the nursery to do certain tests that they won't do in the room.
Right, but that's like a couple hours in their back.
Yeah.
It's not that long.
Technology, man, has come a long way. And thank you for mentioning our Allie. I'm sure in replay she has gotten all the way to here, and
I'm sure,
she's going to so adore you for that. And we do adore Allie, and we miss her. She's actually in the UK right now, so the time frame is a little bit wonky. Whereas if she was in Hong Kong, where she lives, she'd at least be at work where she could sneak a little bit of a live discussion in. But right now, I think it's probably like 2:00 in the morning where she is. So, but yes, we do love Allie. We miss her wonderful rambles. And I would just like to publicly say we received a gift from Allie recently, and it was such a precious,
amazing,
wonderful gift. And we want to say thank you again, because that was just awesome. So anywho, I think we're going to hop off. If anyone's interested, it is the last Tuesday of the month, which means over on my channel on Spinelli Speaks, I am going to be doing some reading sprints. So if anyone's interested, that starts at 10, and I usually go until midnight. But if you are interested in doing some reading sprints, go ahead and pop over to Spinelli Speaks at 10 p.m. But otherwise, for us here at DoubleBookedCo, the next time you see us will be next Tuesday, the 6th at 8 p.m. for reading sprints for our June read of We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang. All of our Etsy products will drop sometime overnight, so feel free to jump in and order any of those items. The shop will go into vacation mode the evening of the 6th, so it's like 11:59 p.m. basically the next day. And then all of the items that have been ordered today through the 6th will be shipped out on the 7th and 8th, because who knows when this little one is going to come out. So I don't want anyone's order to get forgotten. And then we will be on vacation mode in our shop through July 1st. So we should reopen on July 1st. You'll see, hopefully we'll post things here and there, little updates. But you will see us before then, because we'll do the live discussion of We Are the Brennans on the 27th of June at 8 p.m. And then, yeah, so exciting things. Just noticed. Yes, thank you. We are so excited for you to read with us as well. Yeah, let us know. We're doing the Brennans in June, and then Clockmaker's Daughter in July if you're interested. But I think it's always fun to jump in.
Yeah.
And feel free to let me know. We do have a Voxer group that kind of talks along the way. So if you're interested in that, I can always add you at any time. So
thanks for joining.
Yeah. Obviously, Andy. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
Okay. Well, we'll see you all later. And if I see you in my midnight sprints, then I'll see you there and we'll get some reading done. But until the 6th, we will see you then.
Yep. See you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.